call to order this special Winooski City Council meeting. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will leave that because Deputy Mayor Winooski is online. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I will now move on to agenda review. Members of council, do you have any concerns or something you'd like to address about tonight's agenda?
No.
No. Deputy Mayor? Okay.
I'm wondering if you want to ask for a full comment in case it's not really time on the agenda. We didn't learn that. Here.
Their public comment is related to the Armory, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And sorry, I forgot to pull up the Zoom. Is there anybody on the line?
Yeah.
No. Okay. That threw me off when I got here. Okay. Seeing no public comment. Sorry, seeing no agenda review items. We'll move on to public comment. Public comment in this section is for items that are not included in the agenda. We will call for public comment later during those items. So if there's anything that you would like to talk about that is not on the agenda, now is your time. I know that you're here for something on the agenda. All right. In that case, we'll move on to our first item of the night, which is a proposed executive session. So pursuant to 1 VSA 313A2, for the purpose of negotiating or securing a real estate purchase option for 111 Weaver Street to be used as a dwelling and limited office space for a fire department. I would call into this meeting our city manager, fire chief John Audie, Angela, I can never remember your title, finance director, and John Spittle. Seek a motion for that executive session.
Someone seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. That moves. We will now move into executive session. I'm just trying to think if we should move or if I should ask you to go.
It's better for the folks online.
Okay. So we'll move into the executive session to discuss what was warned, no other items, and then we'll come out of that executive session for public discussion. We are moving into executive session at the moment, so I'll just ask you to wait outside, please. And we will let you know once we are done with the executive session. You can come back in.
Check 1 2 1 2. Okay.
Yeah,
you're all set.
Wonderful. Thanks,
Thank
Paul.
you.
All right, so we will now move on to our next item, our regular item 6. Discussion and approval to authorize use of fund balance to purchase real estate. I guess it's yours to start. I mean, we did just talk about it, but
You can just have John introduce him, like.
okay, sure. John Audie, are you on? Friends raising their hand. Oh, I don't see him on there yet. I see John Spittle. Just waiting for the fire chief to join. There it is. All right. So John, I was saying we are on regular item 6, discussion approval to authorize use of fund balance to purchase real estate. If you want to give an intro.
Sorry, Mayor, I missed part of that.
It's just the intro for our item.
For 111, just a brief what we're doing.
Right.
So the purpose of 111 purchase of property is to provide the sleeping quarters to help have some tools to address staff shortages, specifically in the on-call realm of staffing for folks that live further than 5 minutes from the station. It's again just putting more tools in our toolbox as far as being able to address mainly staff shortages.
Wonderful. Thank you, John. Definitely a worthwhile cause, in my opinion. We have heard for many years the difficulties in retention and recruitment, and this council and past councils have referenced many times our desires to help the police chief in making sure that we remain to have fire coverage and protection in the city. I completely understand this item. Is something, if we do approve it, that we want to make sure that we are communicating it out to the community as much as we can. So I'd encourage the fire chief with our communications director, and I, through my role as mayor, am happy to assist in communication through local news sources as well as our social media posts if possible. I can envision many things, videos, interviews, but I think it would be important to talk about why this is so important to our community. Council, I'll let you add or ask any questions.
I think one of the other things that I would highlight just from what I've heard over the past 4 years is that we have folks who would be interested and excited to serve our community, but they currently live outside of this 5 minutes or more away, so they can't safely come and support us. So being able to offer this ability to have sleeping quarters will help with not just with that recruitment, which it sounds like there are people who would want to work for us, and that to me is really, really exciting, especially when we're in this time where both fire and police can be really hard to do that recruitment. If there are people out there wanting to do it, let's help them help us, and also be better able to serve our growing brand list.
So I've got 2 councilors online as well. Councilor Goodrich or Deputy Mayor, anything you'd like to add? Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Sure, yeah. I do want to appreciate the chief and staff of thinking of a creative way to meet our needs. I think the budget, for anybody that followed the budget process, we had a number of needs, and this was presented as one of them. And just is an opportunity that feels like it can't be missed. Looking at, a hotel that's coming online this summer, additional housing projects going up, the need for convenient location for accommodations is pretty significant. So I think anything we can do to facilitate that while keeping overall costs down for our residents is really appreciated. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Brendan. Elsie or Al?
I just wanted to echo what Councilor Hurd said, and also just the idea that this is truly an investment in our future and in our safety. I think some people might, see it as an expense, which most certainly it is. Money is involved, but I think that the fire chief and the fire department, and obviously the city staff as well, are being incredibly thoughtful about how this investment is being made. And so I'm just really, really grateful, both as a resident and as a member of the community.
Thank you. Councilor Goodrich.
And I'll echo all of that and thank staff for the time that put into this. It's definitely a creative solution that we all appreciate at a very great moment. So thank you.
Thank you, councilors. Is there any public comment on this item? Sir, if you can approach the table and if you can state your name.
So
and I'll just we don't have a recording today, so this is what you're talking at. You can stay seated or yeah, sure, why not?
If the mic is there.
Yeah, that works.
So Mark LeBeau, I just saw the email that went out about 3.5 hours ago about the meeting. So I didn't really have time to do any research on it. Didn't know if this was an issue. So I guess my first talking point would be, how long is this timeline gone on? I mean, obviously from the chief's comment, there's been a problem. People made allusions to the fact that recruitment has been an issue for a number of years, but this specific methodology to address it, how long have people been considering either purchasing a property or putting 2 bunks in a firehouse? I mean, my experience as a police officer for a number of years in the military, you get paid to pull a shift. In theory, you could be awake that entire 12-hour shift. Again, it's probably beneficial as a recruitment tool to be able to say, okay, yeah, we're paying you for 12 hours, but if that's not a call, you get to sleep for your 12 hours. I'm assuming somebody's looked at, why can't we just throw 4 bunks in, the town shed or any other place that we own property that could easily be converted. I get that a house, you can buy it for whatever, $500,000, I'm guessing, after you renovate it. And then there's going to be the cost of upkeep, for what exactly? Comment, well, we've got a couple of people who have expressed interest in maybe coming to work for Winooski. Okay, well, I mean, I think we all know that it's difficult to become a firefighter. You have to pass physical fitness tests, there's probably drug tests, etc. So it just sounds like we're pushing hard to, purchase and renovate something, and I didn't see the cost, but I'm just guessing. I haven't seen any property in Winooski for under $300,000. So let's say on cheap, $300,000, $100,000 to renovate it, and then, years of upkeep on the no promise, no guarantee that we even have a candidate who would come in to move. And I'm assuming there's been a discussion, okay, we've now bought this house. What we really need is a bedroom and a toilet. We're going to use the rest of the house for something else, I'm assuming. I'm asking, just again, I've had 0 time to research this. I just saw the email. My wife is like, stop complaining, go over this thing all. So here I am. I just and having been a police officer, I'm somewhat sympathetic to the firefighters. Just because of haven't done the same job, but I get the pain that it can be doing it, and certainly the risk. Much more dangerous going into a burning building than it is sitting in a cruiser sometimes. So I'm not anti doing something for the fire department. I just am interested to see what the timeline was, and if anybody's really looked at any of the alternatives, so.
I appreciate, one, thank you for coming down. I prefer to have people in those seats than not have people in those seats, so.
The mic is here.
No, I just meant coming down to witness what we're doing in the room, but I'll let the chief respond to a lot of that, and maybe the HR director, I don't know if they're available, but they're not, but the chief should be able to. I'll just speak, as I've been on city council for 4 years now, and the chief has presented year over year very well researched, I would say, data showing what our recruitment and retention has looked like, and as well as continuing briefing us on what the recruitment prospects have looked like. I forget the number that the chief will share it, but we actually have seen quite a high interest of folks who are outside of Winooski who would be interested in volunteering on our fire department. Right now, we have this 5-minute radius that we've set, which, I think everybody would agree probably makes sense. But there's many more people who live outside of that 5-minute radius. And then we've also explored other options, as you were alluding to, and what we would like to do in terms of having enough space to attract the folks that we need to attract to keep a somewhat 24/7 fire department going. We're looking at an awful lot more money than we're looking at the purchase and renovation of a home. But I'll turn it over to the chief because he can give you some more specifics.
It's a good evening, and thank you for your service. I guess, to start with, this is not new to Winooski as far as the conversation of the trends, the data we've collected, recruitment and retention. Our model is we we rely heavily on-call, paid on-call folks. You know, 2011, when I came here, there was 22, 24 people on that roster. We're currently at 8, soon to be 7. And these are folks we rely on 6P to 6A, Sunday through Saturday mornings. And then they pull duty weekends. So they pull a significant workload. You know, the city has made investments into the full-time staff doing community risk reduction. And we've stretched that staff through really creative, mindful thinking as far as hours covered. For instance, I'm in the city by 6. You know, Chief Spittles tends to stay later. And, you know, the other full-time staff do the same. And it just really allows us as full-time staff to cover 6A to 6P, generally speaking, Monday through Friday. So we've, over the years, continued to try to be very creative. Obviously, the numbers have dropped recruitment-wise in the 5-minute window, if you will. You mentioned it's not easy to get people to do this, you know, get certified to do this work. That is true. This is not a Winooski problem. This is, you know, it's anywhere you go in the fire world or emergency service public safety realm. It's true. The current station was originally designed to go up a floor. It's not sprinklered. It has current egress issues, so we can't just put a couple bunks in that space currently. We've you know, the state's with us every week as far as the Division of Fire Safety. We've spoken to them a lot about, you know, could we do it even on a temporary basis? And really, there's just a lot of roadblocks to do that as an employer, right? It's not just my own home that I want to put somebody in. We're an employer, so I think people get that, meeting, you know, the different standards. The thought process, you know, of looking at other properties within proximity of the fire station is not new. Really out of the box as far as in the fire service, kind of a grassroots thought process, if you will. So we've continued to look at different properties. 111 Weaver, you know, has been on the market, but there's some reasons why it got our interest again. And you know, the intent would be to maintain that as a duplex. And create some private bunk rooms where we can continue to leverage the paid on call combination model, and you know, really share that workload. And you know, we're human resources is saying we had 100 applicants that lived outside of the 5-minute range. We simply weren't able to extend an interview to them. Again, it's all connected to the response times, the safety of people getting to and from the fire station, and again, just the response times of getting out. So I guess I'll stop there and see if I answered all the questions, because there's a few of them in there, but I'm willing to answer anything else.
So the property, the duplex?
We're able to hear that.
It currently was an owner occupied duplex.
So, I mean, has anybody looked at the conversion? I'm just thinking out loud here. Can keep it as a duplex, one half goes to the fire department, the other half maybe recoup some of the city's expenditure and rent it out? I mean, is that come up?
So great question.
How it's gonna benefit everybody, you know, rather than just the taxpayer, you know, getting hammered for it. If we can take care of you and then cut the cost by renting the other half of it out, it's already a duplex. I'm not talking like just, you know, a handout, you know, government subsidized housing. I'm talking like, okay, we just renovated this, what's up to code, obviously, we would take as far people living there, you know, rent the other half out and bring in some revenue for the city. Not really a question for you, chief, more of a question for the mayor and the city council.
I would point out that firefighters are serving the taxpayer, like they're making sure that they're here to cover us if there is a fire. So it's not like we are helping them not help us, we're helping them help us. And currently we have gaps in coverage.
Yeah.
And that we don't want. We don't want fires at night that can't be serviced by firefighters. So this is a solution to that.
Yes,
And-
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that this is a methodology for that. But if the structure is already a duplex
Mhm.
and we renovate the entire thing, which I'm assuming the city's going to, is there, just bring this out for conversation, one half goes to the 1 to 4, I don't know how many firefighters are actually gonna stay in this. The other half, why not keep it as a duplex and use the other half, rent it out to people and city, rather than it being an expenditure, it can be less of an expenditure. Just-
I also, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to know, when you were sitting up here earlier, you had mentioned that you thought that the number was like approximately going to be like $100,000 in renovations.
No, I'm
that-
saying, yes,
Right, so,
just guessing, I don't.
right,
again,
yeah,
not-
no, I know that you diligently read the email and you're here, which we again greatly appreciate. But that's not given the research that has been done, I'm also not a construction worker by any means. But the renovation would be nowhere near that price. And so the thought process, and the chief has shared this, and I'm sure he will as well, is that to keep, when we say keep it as a duplex, it means that when the current fire station that's being used is renovated and able to have sleeping quarters for folks, that then this house would be resold, and that the duplex structure would then be, very resellable, not a real estate agent either. But so I think that's also it. And the thing that I want to note is also that the fire marshal Spittle his office will also be moving over there. So it will be living quarters and also then administrative offices as well.
So this is a short-term fix, that at some point the fire station is gonna be renovated? Is that what you just said?
I believe that's the plan. Again, I'm not clairvoyant, so I'm not able, but that's the sort of the ideas, yeah.
Again, that would be more, justification in my mind to keep it as a duplex. And also for resale, if we're talking 5 years from now, reselling the property, you wouldn't have to then pay additional money to have it refurbished again, converting it from whatever, just hoping that I'm assuming there is a long-term, well thought out plan, that this isn't just hey, this property is probably as cheap as we're gonna get it. We need bunk space for the fire department because we can't get people to take the job, and we hope that this is going to be a methodology to encourage people to come in. But, I have no idea that, renovations for the fire station were being considered. If 5 years from now, we think that's gonna happen, the second story that was supposed to go on there goes on there, and now we've got plenty of bunk space. And, now we can unload that property off the city rolls, and just something again for the council to consider. Sounds like everybody's on board, this is gonna happen one way or another, that let's, try to make this well planned as possible and not just buy the property. And I'm just hoping that, yes.
Yeah, and I believe that I know you directed your question to us, but the chief is leading this initiative. I think that this property in its selection was due to how it could be renovated to be used in its entirety to the fire department. So totally get what you're saying in terms of it's a duplex already, but I think the size of it is what is actually what is appealing to the fire chief in terms of what he needs to move it forward. So yeah, we wouldn't be looking to not use some of that space for a rental and then use it as rental, because he does in fact have plans to use the whole thing for the fire department. Yeah, but it's a good question. Thank you.
Could have John talk about the plan.
Sure. Yeah, John, if you want to elaborate on what I said, feel free, please.
Yeah, so as far as the renovation, it's really, it's not a lot. It's on the second floor, adding a wall so that we can have two private, sleeping quarters on the second floor. Use the existing bathroom as it is, as a, as a facility. Remove, the, like the kitchen cabinets, but leave all the water sewer capped, in that location. So again, when and if the city, wants to do the resale, it's not a big lift to get that back. So we're again really looking to keep the up and down kind of duplex intact. The first floor, we would move the fire marshal's office over there. Again, this is to relieve some of the space needs in the firehouse, but more so for us to have eyes on that other facility on a daily basis, Monday through Friday basis. Again, it's really some cleanup, some paint. There's not a ton of, it's not like we're gutting the building. It's as it sits in its state, it's kind of status quo to maintain it. And really that renovation work is work that staff, grassroots efforts for the staff to kind of do the bulk of that work.
Thank you. Any other questions?
The only other one I had is there a decision point if this goes down? I think you guys have already decided it's going to go down, but let's say 2 years from now, project's been done, no one's living. Does the city just retain it? I'm guessing. I get that, if the long-term goal is, keeping in our back pocket as a potential recruitment tool, and it doesn't pan out 24 months, whatever, is there a decision point to unload? Or are we just holding on to it indefinitely?
John, do you want
to? Yeah, I'll try to answer that a little bit. And again, this is part of the story, kind of the journey that we've taken in Winooski. There is no doubt that there needs to be 24/7 coverage here in Winooski. Having said that, economy of scale, we definitely want to leverage the paid on-call model. That's worked well. It's been of great value to Winooski. And again, this is a tool to try to do that. If in 24 months we're not successful in recruiting more, the building's sitting idle, part of that journey is the community needs to decide what the next steps for fire coverage are. If you go 24/7, hire 24/7 staff, you need sleeping quarters. Again, we're talking extremely $3+ million to renovate the current station, versus piloting this other model. So that's part of the journey that Winooski has taken, yeah.
I'll just mention too, I haven't seen it. So, you mentioned like hammering on taxpayers. The amount of money that would come, the money that would go towards the purchase and the renovation would actually come out of the fund balance. So there wouldn't be a tax impact.
That's still, it
Of
came
course,
from
like-
someplace. The money came from.
Sure, yeah. And of course, once we go into operating, then there's some operating budget there, and the fact that it comes off the grant list means there's some less money going into taxes. So I'm not saying it's completely, not relevant, but it's maybe less than some other people might imagine.
But that's why, my point in trying to keep half of it for a section of it as property. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs. If it's city property, can that other half of the duplex then become, is it still taxable? Don't know, obviously not my bailiwick. But yeah, I was just throwing it out as that was a methodology of potentially not losing tax revenue on a property you're currently getting tax revenue on and bringing in rent. You know, you could actually potentially make money rather than lose money. And I get it, the money's already there.
Yeah.
But
One thing I will say, and you know, if I'm saying 2 years, there's nobody in there, and from what we've seen from applicants, I'm somewhat confident. I'll knock on wood and don't want to be too cocky, but I think that we'll get some applicants. Unless things completely change in this country, real estate continues to be an appreciating asset. So if in 2 years or 3 years the community makes the decision that we're pursuing alternate models of fire and we're going to sell this building, I do believe we'll make up some of the money in that sale in a future market. I understand it wouldn't be money in the 2 years and it would be vacant, but I'm again not concerned, barring some world catastrophe, that if we had to sell this property, we would likely make money on it.
But also, I mean, I'm guessing within 5, I just have this feeling in 5 years, there's gonna be a major renovation of the fire station. And there's probably going to be those bunk spaces. So, I'm just looking at it in short term, if this is an interim fix, I mean, let's again try to make it as painless as possible. You know, try not to lose revenue if we can afford to lose revenue, and then the bond or whatever passes to do the renovations on the fire station within the next 5 years, because I think if things would happen, then get it. And I would do, Chief, I'm not trying to downplay your need. I just would like to see the city council try to make this as cost beneficial to the taxpayer.
I appreciate that, but they're all really good questions. I appreciate the questions.
I'm sure I come across as a naysayer to everybody.
No. Like I said, we like to have people ask
And I
questions.
appreciate your service too, Chief.
Yeah. And I extend the offer, you know, I'm there Monday through Friday, and let's connect, and you know, I'd like to try to answer more of your questions.
Thanks, Chief. Elaine, you want to say something else?
Yeah, I will say, in general, I will be very reluctant for the city to become a landlord. There, we all know how challenging that is, so would be offered to be a city and then trying to do that.
It would also, if we rent out the property because it's income producing, it would need to remain on the tax rolls, but it would actually increase the costs for the city to do the property, because we would have to not only remit city taxes, but also school taxes, so it would be a double cost.
Which I would pass on to the
Thank you, Angela. That was Al, that was our finance director. All right, any other questions from the public? Thank you for your questions, sir. Anybody online? All right, in that case, I would seek a motion to authorize the use of general fund balance up to the amount discussed for the purchase of 111 Weaver Street, plus another up to $30,000 for the renovation and operation 111 Weaver Street as discussed, where any difference between the cost of procuring the property and the discussed limit for that may be used for renovation and operation of 111 Weaver Street.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, thank you very much, everybody. All right, we will now move on to our next item, which is a proposed executive session, which will be a discussion pursuant to 1 VSA 313, which exempts from public inspection A1A contracts for the purpose of discussing a change in scope relating to the Armory housing project contract with CHT. I will invite into that meeting, pull this up here, our housing initiative director, Jasmine Hurley, Michael Monty of CHT, city manager, Elaine Wong, and attorney, Kathy Zhao. Can I get a motion for that, please?
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I will be recusing myself from this item. Continually will not be joining executive session.
Wonderful. Thank you, Elsie. Have a good night. For the public, we will be remaining in this space for this item. We will come back out and have a regular item. So if you would like to hear that, we'll just ask that you wait out in the hall and then you can come back in after we are done. So we will come let you know that we are done our executive. As far as the executive, we will only discuss what I mentioned in the morning.
Yes.
Last I checked, your name is Michael Monty. All right, thank you for bearing with us in executive session. We are back in executive session and did not discuss anything outside of what I had warned. We will now move on to our last regular item of the night, discussion approval of the change in scope of the Armory project. Jasmine, do you want to give a brief overview?
Sure. So the Armory project is a potential housing opportunity that the city came across probably like a year and a half ago now. The original plan had been that the city, well, we did issue an RFP in November 2024, I think. We had asked for developers to submit bids who were able to potentially supply some of the city's housing priorities, which include affordable housing, homeownership opportunity, and 3+ bedroom units. And we received one bid, which was CHT. So we began working with CHT on a concept design and moving forward with that project. It was originally designed as a 30-unit development with 24 rental units and 6 townhomes. That project went to the DRB in December and was ultimately denied. So CHT has been working on a revised plan, which will likely look to only include rental units and a reduced total unit count of 24. So this item is related to council amending the direction for the RFP scope. Which had originally said that there would be no less than 50% units offered for homeownership. And so I think the decision point would be to amend that to allow for a project with the scope of all rental units.
Thank you, Jasmine. You know, this is an incredibly important project. Council referenced that when we first approved it. We recognized that this was truly just a situation that many cities and towns don't find themselves in, where there's a big chunk of land when you have no land in your city to develop. So we wanted to make sure that we could provide housing for the folks in Winooski who have spoken time and time again, whether it be in this meeting or individually to members of council. I'll include members of the school board as well and to city staff. That we just have a housing shortage for the folks who exist here. We've got families of 4 living in 1+ bedroom apartments, families of 6 and larger living in 2-bedroom apartments. So this was a really unique opportunity to try to create places with more bedrooms. And yes, we had primarily wanted owner-occupied units. I think currently here right now, I was one of the people who pushed the hardest for that. But to me, it is important that we're providing housing in areas of Winooski that makes sense for housing. So I appreciate CHT revamping the work that they did after a lot of extensive work to still provide us with a project, which is ultimately what council wants, is a housing project in that area. So very appreciative of that, of staff's time, of CHST's time. I'll leave it at that. I'm very happy that we can try to keep this moving forward. Councilors, I don't know if you want to add anything or ask any questions of Jasmine or CHT.
Yeah, I think most of my questions have been answered. CHT was extremely thoughtful in meeting the concerns that the DRB had in giving this new proposal and why we're kind of shifting to this fully rental.
Yeah.
And we've also heard from folks I think folks employed by the school and with other organizations that service Winooski residents, that rentals are in extreme need. Yes, how additional home ownership opportunities also a big need, but having these rentals would be just in a lot of cases life-changing, and making sure that folks can stay within their community where they built community, keep kids in the school that they're going to, and that is able to best provide the education that they need. So I'm just wanted to echo kind of that appreciation and the appreciation of CHT and working with us and really meeting the goals of kind of the vision that we want the city to be.
Thank you, Councilor Hurd. Councilor Oakley for Councilor Turcos.
I echo everything that Councilor heard and you just said, and again, that's one of the things that I love about Winooski is that we are a city that lives and operationalizes our values. And I think this is a great way to do that. And it's been really wonderful to partner with CHT, and I look forward to doing it more in the future.
Wonderful, thank you. Councilor Oakley.
Sure. Yeah, I want to say I'm really excited to explore a path forward. To reiterate, this is a unique opportunity to create some direly needed family size housing and affordable family size housing in our community. So I'm really looking forward to continuing the conversation and to seeing what we can do to realize this opportunity in the near future.
Thank you, Councilor Deputy Mayor Oakley. We'll open this time up now for any comments from the public. We've got folks in the room, so I will start there. If you would like to approach, you can either sit at the blue chairs or you can join us close up at the orange chair. I'll just have you state your name. I'll just ask you to speak up a little louder than you have in previous meetings, because the mic is here tonight.
So my name is Kate Coffey. I live on Manso Street. I've come to a number of the meetings of the previous version of this. I also was approached by a city official who suggested there might be collusion in the RFP process between the city and CHT. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm gonna just leave that one alone. I do think that the letter from both the city engineer and the director of public works, who recused himself, but still wrote a letter, suggests that there is something perhaps not as transparent as I would hope in relations here. Now I will leave that. I came a number of times and talked about an existing safety issue on Manso Street, and I heard a very well-spoken woman from CHT talk about this location of the Armory site and its proximity to the bus line. So there are two of those on East Allen, the number 2, Essex, and then if you go down the Fountain, there's another one, and that's a number of lines, but you have to walk in the street to get there, at least to the ones on East Allen Street, because Manso from the Fountain to East Allen does not have a sidewalk. From Dion Street, there is not a continuous sidewalk to East Allen. There's a sidewalk that goes from the Fountain to Corinne Street, and then it stops. I've lived in the house that I am fortunate enough to own on Manso Street since before the two large apartment buildings on East Allen were built, and my life, my experience has changed dramatically. There's a number of cars
that wasn't there before. And adding that to the, lack of sidewalks, it's a safety issue. Making a left-hand turn from either Dion or, well, you can't on Mansell, and that's because they have not one or two, but they have 3 no left-hand turn signs out of Dion, which doesn't stop people from making that turn, and that's why there is a missing pedestrian sign there now. So there's typically 4. One of them recently got taken out by a car making a left-hand turn. That's not the first time that pedestrian signal has been taken out by a vehicle turning left there. It's already an issue having more vehicles without mitigating the existing problem. More vehicles, more people on those streets it's not working. Not to go back to the what I talked about first, but the city engineer's letter talking about utilities, the need for a water main, not having tested the soils. Now, I'm not sure if that was about water absorption for on-site runoff, or if he was talking about possible contamination of the soil there. I think is really, I think it's something that should be explored. I also think that there should be thought of bringing in the city engineer and public works director early on in the project. From those letters, it seems that was not done, and that's unfortunate. I not only is there this safety issue with the pedestrian and the cars and the streets and the lack of sidewalks, but as an architect, and I do understand that the project is being scaled back. This scale of the density and the size of the buildings that were being proposed just didn't work, and I'm not sure how those types of buildings or that size and height of building, where it started in the gateway districts, is now like moving into farther into the city, into these single family home neighborhoods. It sets up an unwelcome and it's a tension, and I think that the neighbors really made their voices very clear about that. I also encourage anyone who didn't watch the hearings here in this room to listen to how many people recused themselves or acknowledged a conflict of interest and then spoke anyway. And that they did it and couldn't filter themselves felt very strange, but that the city didn't stop that either. I didn't understand that. In the November meeting, someone said that actually didn't happen, although it had just previously happened in that meeting. It's, I'm going on and on and on. I just see an opportunity here for the whole thing to be done a lot better. And in terms of this meeting tonight, you had to click on the Front Porch Forum special city meeting, which didn't didn't reference either the firehouse at buying this or this other project to see what was being, to see that this was being talked about. And again, I don't think that's, very transparent of the city, especially when so many people, had a lot of feelings, strong feelings about the process and what was going on along the way. And I think that's more than enough out of me. Like, there were no questions. It was just me talking. Yeah. So thanks for listening again.
Thank you very much for your comments. As I mentioned to Mark before, I always appreciate when people show up to council. We're all here because we want to hear from people. So thank you. Any other public comment?
So I decided to stick around. So just, I have read a little bit about this, again, Mark Lowe, I live on Mansion Street. I have read a little about this just on front porch forum. Is it true that no one's tested the soil?
There's been full phase 1 and 2 that has been done.
It has been tested for,
Yeah.
Because I was in a Vermont Army National Guard for 20 years, I can tell you that that is a contaminated
Yeah, so,
site. I mean, lead from the.
yeah, they did remediation.
Okay, good. It did look like that. I run by there on my lunch breaks, and it looked like they dug up everything, you know, at least 2 feet. Looked like they dug up a couple of feet of dirt, and I don't know if they took it away, so that's good, because I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, when we talked way back when, before even this project had materialized, and we talked about the Armory being sold, somebody on council, I forget who, but it said there's likely contaminants there.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was very front of mind.
THC does. The brownfield says.
Yep.
They're doing the, what's it called, post place?
Post apartments.
Post apartments. That was also a large brownfield, but, yeah, part of the partnership has always been that, you know, there's a possibility of that CHT will manage and all of that, but they do have to follow a larger process with HUD, and the Department of Environmental Correction, so they will do a whole corrective action plan and,
Yeah.
The whole game.
Yeah, just want to make sure you
Yes.
guys can get down that path and you find that in fact, it's the light contamination.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they, not to, hypothetically speaking, not that I have personal knowledge is happening, you know, dumping, you know, motor oil, all the other weapons cleaning stuff, you
Yeah.
know, which I never did or never saw any of my soldiers do. Hypothetically speaking, who is going to own and manage the facility?
CHT. The city will only be owning the property for one instant. We have the right of first refusal with the National Guard. As a municipality that the Armory is located in, so we've been talking with them. They're really excited about the potential for this to continue as, you know, an extension of the public good. And so we would be purchasing from them, and then simultaneously sell it to CHT, who will manage the property. So the city will not be owning it or maintaining it at all.
So I see like, I think it's Champlain Housing Trust
Yeah.
stuff all over the place.
We shouldn't have used the acronym, Champlain Housing Trust, yeah.
So they're like a non-for-profit.
Yeah.
Developer.
No, it's funny, I had no idea, it just because I've got the big senior complex at the end of my street, and I see that up and.
Yeah.
Okay, the senior towers are Winooski Housing Authority, which is a public housing building, Champlain Housing. They own a couple of small, they did a recent example is on Mallets Bay, they did the Butternut Grove condo complex right there and those are all homeownership units. That's how we're.
Very-
Yeah.
You're okay.
We won't say which number.
Winooski is one of the most densely populated cities in New England.
Yeah.
I know there've been discussions that this was a desirable project because the number of students in the high school that we just spent millions of dollars on have reduced, there's been significant reduction. So is that true? Is that one of the reasons that we're really big onto three bedroom or?
Yeah.
Yes.
And one thing,
It's, I just, again, little, big picture concern that, you're jamming, you're already probably overpopulated, or having excessive population density. The traffic, I mean, me and my daughter have almost been hit numerous times. There's just a lot of problems with converting a big old mill town with mill type, single family housing into, what it's become.
yeah,
And I don't live right there, but I can certainly see, the concerns of the citizens who are gonna have to deal with the traffic every day.
yeah, I mean, I can speak to some of those points, I mean, we hear frequently, and I've had conversations with people who have left Winooski because they were living in kind of like what I would say substandard housing, not enough bedrooms for the amount of children and parents. There are people who are living on other family members' couches while they hope they can find something in Winooski. And I live on Florida Ave. I complain to the city manager frequently about the problems with traffic. But I'll tell you,
Are you allowed?
no, nothing happens. I'll tell you what, but yeah, no, quite the opposite. But anyway, my spouse's family has lived in Winooski since his great grandparents. People have complained about traffic since then. Complaining about traffic, in the sleepiest neighborhoods in South Burlington, people unfortunately get hit. We do have plans and proposals to try to alleviate traffic. Again, the city manager and the police chief can tell you how frequently I speak about traffic problems. During our budgeting session, I was advocating for extra police officers to help with the traffic issues. I'm not saying they don't exist, but they have always existed. Again, since almost we were in horse and buggy in Winooski. But what we know now, and we are densely populated, but we're not even. I'm sure some people will come to these apartments who don't live in Winooski. That's great. As mayor, I find myself to be chief champion of Winooski and trying to get more people shopping in our businesses and going to our restaurants. But I know there's existing families now. I've had this conversation with a few people, but my own family has experienced extended family has experienced homelessness in the city and don't want to live somewhere else. And it's what we would consider a large family these days. 4 boys and one parent. We don't have housing like that. So I sympathize with many of the issues, but I'm looking at residents who every day are telling me they're literally sleeping on floors.
Is there a legal methodology to prioritize the people who are current residents?
So we can't legally discriminate. I'm speaking a little bit for CHT here, but from what I understand, and certainly, I can make this promise as mayor, is we want to advertise those units in Winooski as much as we can. I know that CHT plans to work with the school. It's amazing the information that the school holds. They know almost every homeless / not technically homeless family in the city, as well as the folks who have moved to South Burlington and deeply want to come back here. So I know CHT is going to do that work. I believe it would open them and maybe us up to some discrimination lawsuits if we said only folks who live in Winooski can apply. But the certain hope is that the majority of those units will go to folks who have a Winooski connection or here, and we'll do our darndest to market it that way.
Right. Not that I advocate, but yes, hypothetically speaking, word gets out that, these units are going to be open for residency within the next 6 months. Wink, wink, nod, nod, wink, eyes, put in a packet. I think something like, again, not a lawyer.
Yeah.
That could probably be done without breaking any discriminate. discriminatory laws.
I do believe that's the plan, yeah.
Yeah, but what you said, targeted marketing. It's legal.
Conversations and
Yeah.
open people and folks holding hands, making sure they can get the applications in, and then working with families who are working and struggling with their incomes and will go for even lower income. Get us that we have, so we'll do a whole range of things to make sure that these first come to Winooski residents and then of course,
Yeah.
work at opening up the portal.
Yeah,
Thank you for the education. on that.
appreciate your questions, thank you. Any other questions online? Okay, not seeing any. Let me pull back up that document. All right, so what I will seek, excuse me, a motion on tonight, council, is to approve the change in scope for the Armory housing project from 50-50 owner rental to 100% rental units, and to authorize the mayor or his designee to support the project publicly as discussed.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. Thank you very much, council. That brings tonight's meeting to an end. I'll seek a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and Councilor Hurd, you thought it had been your last meeting last time, but it is now your last meeting.
I don't know, aren't they gonna be the meeting on Monday?
Yeah.
That's different. That's different, though. They're there in their role. It's more of a school role over there. So, Aurora, thank you for your work. Thank you for your questions, and I'm eager to take your writing class when you can do it now that you're a civilian. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, staff. Much appreciated.